A new investigation into potential voter fraud in Denver. The Secretary of State backtracks on her insistence that her office should investigate their own leak of voting system passwords. She's now facing a lawsuit in court today calling for a hand count of ballots. We'll take you inside Denver's voting system to see the machines impacted by the password leak and show you the layers of security that prevent somebody with that password from doing any harm.
We have an election to run, and it's important for folks to know that they can still turn in their ballot and have faith that it's secure.
And busting past barriers for health insurance for Spanish-speaking Coloradans and Latino entrepreneurs. That's tonight on Next. There's an ongoing voter fraud investigation in Mesa County. 12 ballots with bad signatures that look suspiciously similar. And now we have learned of another potential voter fraud investigation in Denver. That one also caught through signature verification. This one involved multiple ballots that came from an adult care facility flagged as having signatures that did not match what was on file for the voters and bearing suspiciously similar handwriting. All the Denver District Attorney's Office will say is that they have a pending investigation. Last week, Democratic Secretary of State Jena Griswold told Next that her office would investigate her office's leak of Colorado's voting machine passwords online. Now today, Griswold says she will bring in an outside law firm after all. She's faced a call for transparency from the governor's office, frustration from county clerks cleaning up yet another mess made by her office, and a lawsuit. Griswold's office now acknowledges that one of her employees inadvertently posted the passwords for the voting machines for 34 counties online, and that those passwords were up on the internet from June until the breach was discovered in late October. Griswold blames the issue on a former staff member who created the document where the passwords were listed on a hidden tab. Griswold said today that that employee, quote, amicably left the department before this matter took place. Griswold's office could choose to withhold the results of this outside investigation from public view. They could cite a few different exceptions to Colorado's open records law, but her spokesperson tells me today that they commit to releasing everything that does not impact an employee's legal rights or pose a security risk. So this password leak raises fair questions about the competence of Secretary Griswold's team and how our elections are secured. It's also been seized on by conspiracy theorists who have pushed claims without evidence for years. The Libertarian Party of Colorado has filed a lawsuit asking for a hand count of ballots. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger was in the courtroom today where a well-known election denier claimed to be the person who found the leaked passwords.
Yeah, that was news in this lawsuit in the courtroom that we just ended for the rest for this afternoon. I don't know why I can't talk all of a sudden. We've been in this courtroom for 4 hours. Sean Smith is the guy's name who took the stand to say he was the person who found this spreadsheet on the Secretary of State's website and was notified by John Case, the attorney for Tina Peters. Follow me here. He said, Sean Smith said he had this database, didn't know that it had these hidden tabs until sometime in October, though there was this written affidavit that said he thought he had it in August. There's some confusing timelines here between what's in paper and what was here in the courtroom. We're in court because the Libertarian Party wants more than half of Colorado counties to have to hand count their ballots. There was a slight protest outside the city and county building before we came in for this afternoon court hearing. What we heard from the Secretary of State's office is that there was no security breach and that there is no proof that anything happened even though these passwords were accessible on this hidden tab online for a few months. On the Libertarian Party side, they said just the appearance that these passwords were out there and could have led to something is reason enough to do hand counts. And then Sean Smith, the election denier, who said that he had access to this spreadsheet, is someone we heard from a couple of years ago at a rally at a church in Castle Rock. He mentioned this on the stand, that what he said about the Secretary of State that you're about to hear was simply him talking about due process.
You know, if you're involved in election fraud, then you deserve to hang. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. I was accused of endorsing violence. I'm not endorsing violence. I'm saying when you put your hand on a hot stove, you get burned.
While on the stand in this courtroom here, he mentioned that he has not really said that the Secretary of State should be hanged for election fraud. Again, that he's just talking about due process. Kyle, this just ended about 5:52 or so. The judge is going to take what she heard in person, take these filings, and then come up with a ruling, we assume sometime tomorrow, to decide if 34 counties that had active passwords to their voting machines, if these 34 county clerks would need to actually count their ballots by hand to appease the arguments made by the Libertarian Party.
Did you hear anything in court from the judge that indicated whether the judge was predisposed to issue such a sweeping ruling that would, I mean, it would upend Colorado's elections? I mean, we'd probably wait weeks.
I mean, just at the end when she was kind of giving a summary and talking about the late hour of this, that might lead to believe that that's not going to be the case about hand counting. Plus, the Secretary of State's office has argued that you can always, as we heard from the governor, if someone wants a recount or there's a system in place at the end of an election where you run some ballots through to make sure that the ballots match the computer, that's the process that's in place to actually do essentially what the Libertarian Party is asking.
All right, Marshall Zellinger, thank you. The damage done to voter confidence by the actions of Secretary Griswold's office often falls to county election clerks to repair, which is why Denver's clerk provided rare access today so that you could see the voting system machines impacted by the password leak and talk to the man in charge of securing them. We came down to the Denver County Clerk and Recorder's office to see what layers of physical and IT security somebody would have to get through if they had one of the passwords leaked by Secretary of State Jenna Griswold's office. So for the purposes of this experiment, let's just say I have the leaked password. Jenna rocks 1, exclamation mark. They always make you put in one of those marks. All right, we've got the password. We're going to try to get in. Layer 1. The leaked passwords could only pose a threat if someone had insider access.
We are headed to the counting room now, so we have made it into the building.
Denver Elections Operations Manager Jimmy Flanagan let us in, past the security, batched us into the room with the impacted voting systems.
We'll get you in.
Denver had 20 machines affected. This is one of them. It tallies votes as paper ballots are scanned. Put in the BIOS password here, and you could reactivate dormant wireless equipment. Voting systems are not supposed to be able to connect to the internet. So if somebody was able to get this far, get through the physical security, take the password, get into the BIOS, what access would they have to the Dominion voting software, which is on the machine tabulating the votes?
They would not have any access because the BIOS is just the first layer of security on this machine. We don't even have access to those BIOS passwords, but one password that the Secretary of State doesn't have access to is the operating system that is installed on here. So each one of these has its own password to log into the operating system, and they additionally have a password to log into the Dominion application to actually launch the tabulation software. You would need that separate password, and you would need a physical token to actually launch the application.
If somebody could get into the BIOS, could they put something on that is or looks like Dominion software so that somebody logging on wouldn't even know it?
Potentially, I suppose you could if you say you had, a copy of that software. However, if you did that, it would be noticeable right away as soon as we started tabulating because it wouldn't be able to communicate with any other portions of our closed network in here. So we would notice that right away.
How confident are you on the affected machines that somebody wasn't in there with the ability to cover their tracks?
I am 100% confident that nobody has been in here modifying any of our installations.
And I found out when everybody else found out, and that's unfortunate.
Denver Clerk and Recorder Paul Lopez shares his team's confidence in the security of their system, but he is frustrated with Secretary of State Jenna Griswold's handling of the situation.
It's not necessarily, having made a mistake or not. It's how you handle that, and how you handle the mistake, and how transparent you are, and making sure that the appropriate folks that are involved in it know about it.
How do you assess the Secretary's handling of this?
Well, it's unfortunate, and it was disappointing, especially because we know that, we're in the middle of an election, and although we know that nothing was compromised and you would have to get through multi-layers of security to get here, the perception is the other thing that we're fighting. We have an election to run. And it's important for folks to know that they can still turn in their ballot and have faith that it's secure, that it's transparent, and it's easy as pie as it always is in Colorado.
El Paso County's clerk, a Republican, is calling for Secretary Griswold's resignation, saying the voters would have more trust in the process if it was run by somebody else. Denver Clerk Lopez, a Democrat, says it's up to voters to decide who is our Secretary of State. So more than 2 million Coloradans have already returned their ballots so far. That lags behind early voting at this rate in 2020. Turnout's down across the board, Republicans, Democrats, and unaffiliated voters. Partisans have been slightly more likely to vote early than unaffiliated. As of last night, unaffiliated voters account for 42% of the ballots returned, despite making up 48% of active voters in our state. Democrats have returned 29%, Republicans 27%, both slightly ahead of their percentages of the electorate. I invite you to join me and the rest of the team for 7.5 hours of continuous election night coverage tomorrow. We will be on the air and streaming on 9 News Plus starting at 3:30 p.m. Polls close in Colorado at 7. If you are looking for Next, we will have a special hour-long edition at 6 p.m. over on KTVD, Channel 20, also streaming on 9 News Plus. I want to thank you for your generosity and support of the Ma Kang Memorial Scholarship Fund. That's a project of the nonprofit Spring Institute that they do each year in memory of that pillar of Colorado's refugee and immigrant community. This is the third year that your Word of Thanks microgiving has helped fund scholarships for refugees and immigrants who are pursuing higher education. The $30,000 or so that you raise in weekly donations plus monthly contributions to the Word of Thanks Fund is going to go a long way. If you know of a nonprofit that would benefit from our community's generosity, $13 million and counting, email me at next@9news.com or text NEXT anytime at 303-871-1491. Colorado's wolves keep roaming, this time south of I-70.
I think, our providers need to do a much better job in informing and educating our community in person.
Helping Latino entrepreneurs understand their employees' health insurance options to keep our whole state healthy. That's next. For the first time, a wolf has been tracked south of I-70 in Colorado. Not a surprise. Parks and Wildlife expected the wolves to just kind of keep exploring new terrain in our state. Biologists use GPS collars to track the reintroduced wolves. What they show there on the map is every watershed that they have been into, so it can be pretty large areas. The map shows that one wolf was around Vail and down near Leadville. Colorado voters approved wolf reintroduction back in 2020. There's the governor letting one out of the cage. 10 wolves were brought in last December, and CPW is getting ready to release the next round next month. 15 wolves from British Columbia. The agency plans to release 10 to 15 wolves annually for the next 3 to 5 years. Kathy Sabin, can't say that I'm thinking about anything other than elections this week, but I understand there's some snow coming.
Yes, 3 storms, Kyle, I'm tracking. The one that moved through today, another one on Wednesday, and another one for Friday. This is today's storm spinning in southeastern Colorado after bringing a light dusting to some areas of Denver and about 2 feet of snow in the mountains. This is the next system coming our way from the northwest Tuesday night into Wednesday. The totals are pretty amazing. 22 inches at Copper Mountain, 9 at Winter Park, Breckenridge with 16, almost 9 at Golden, almost 6 in Estes Park. We had a couple inches in Lakewood and Littleton and Castle Rock, and temperatures held in the 40s for much of the day. We're down to 37 in Denver now. We'll probably drop another 10 degrees during the overnight period. Thankfully, winds are light because it's a cold north wind that's blowing on the backside of this system. Still tracking some showers in the form of rain and snow in the southeast corner. Winter weather and travel advisories will go out for the Palmer Divide, Front Range foothills for Tuesday into Wednesday for 5 to 10 inches of snow, over a foot in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. The southern foothills will do very well with the Tuesday night storm as well. A little calmer tonight. Temperatures will trend downward. It'll be on the chilly side. Tomorrow we have sunshine for Election Day, 53 degrees. But tomorrow night, scattered rain showers could mix with snow. We called Wednesday as a weather impact day because 1 to 3 inches of snow are possible for the drive Wednesday morning with a high of 35. A break Thursday, another storm, potential round of snow Friday. Right now, the weekend looks pretty good. Sunshine and 50s for both days.
Latino, Spanish-speaking entrepreneurs are not able to find the right education, the right material in order for them to really make the right choice in their health care.
The challenge of offering health insurance to employees' families that have blended immigration status. That's next. It's about the time of year for open enrollment for health insurance. It can be a tricky time for small business owners and people without employer-based insurance. Our Angeline McCall shows us an effort to make sure that Latino entrepreneurs in Colorado understand their options.
When healthcare is already so hard to understand, one thing that makes it easier is when the information comes in a language you know. Nonprofit Adelante Community Development knows the Latino entrepreneurs they serve encounter obstacles with open enrollment every year at this time.
Because there's lack of insurance knowledge, And insurance is such a big terminology. A lot of our Latino entrepreneurs do not have the right access.
CEO and founder Maria Gonzalez knows the system becomes even more complicated for those with DACA or who are undocumented.
We see so many of entrepreneurs that have, diabetes, high blood pressure, or different diseases that could have been prevented if they have the right insurance, if they have the right policies, and also the right mindset and support from the community.
Adelante's event simplifies a topic for business owners looking to insure themselves or their employees.
Necesitamos aprender a usar el seguro médico, sobre la cobertura, copagos, cosas que, a veces nos asustan y a veces no entendemos.
Carmen Sanchez came for clarity.
Creemos que solamente pagar la cuota y después ya está. Y no es así. O sea, hay cosas que tenemos que aprender y la verdad es que me llevo información muy importante, muy importante.
Adelante hopes this conversation provides more options and better healthcare outcomes.
It's important for us to have stakeholders bring the information in the right language, culturally appropriate, and ensuring that everybody that is able to qualify for a plan takes advantage and have that better quality of life.
It's ultimately really important that people have the access to information because let's talk Omni Salud, for example. It's a program for undocumented Coloradans to get on that plan with financial assistance. There's only 11,000 slots available, and in a way, it's also a lottery system. So once those spaces fill up, it's substantially more money. So with it being November at the start of open enrollment with many of these programs, time really is of the essence. Kyle.
And I imagine one of the many challenges is that you probably have a lot of families that have mixed immigration status, right? I mean, one person has legal documentation, another person in the family doesn't. That might impact what is available to them in terms of health care.
Yeah, exactly. You have families, for instance, where the parents, or for instance, a single parent, might be on a totally different plan than their children. And, they're signing up and they're taking all of these options into account for multiple people in their household. And that's really confusing and complicated as well.
Angeline McCall, appreciate it. We are back with your feedback next. Thank you. Ooh, that was feedback from David in Littleton, who says, Kyle, are you going to be happier tomorrow being done with the political ads or 7 hours of political coverage? David, let me be real honest with you. Any broadcast journalist who complains about political ads is being hypocritical because these days they provide a key source of revenue to sustain and fund our journalism at a difficult time for our industry. I am genuinely excited for 7.5 hours of continuous political coverage tomorrow. For a nerd like me, it's kind of like the Super Bowl. It's a chance to talk with you at length about what is happening, why it's happening, what is likely to happen next. So I do invite you in for any of the 7.5 hours, especially for the 60 minutes of Next at 6 o'clock on KVD and streaming on 9 News Plus. 7 o'clock, polls close, and then the fun really begins. And remember, more than anything, vote. Don't make me show you that neck tat again.